What's going on, guys? It's me, Zach, bringing you guys another fantasy football video. And this one, I'm going to go over my 5 best values at the running back position this year in fantasy football. It's June 9th right now when I'm recording this, so if anything changes between now and the time of you guys seeing this, just keep that in mind. We've got 3 months until the start of the NFL season, so super exciting. We're really coming in close. We're going to start getting a lot of news out of training camp, and really we're going to start getting all that hype ramped up, and then we'll be getting in the draft season. So super exciting, really starting to sort of get the fever for this stuff. So yeah, but yeah, if this is your first time on the channel, thanks for stopping by. I hope I can provide some value. But yeah, with that, let's get going to the first player. So my number one value at the running back position right now is Miles Sanders. I have him statted out to be our running back 5, despite an ADP of running back 19. So you're getting a really crazy value there on him if I'm right. And honestly, I don't think I'm being too unrealistic here. Carolina has a solid offensive line. They were honestly really effective running the football last year after the trade of Christian McCaffrey with guys like Deonta Foreman and Chuba Hubbard. So it's very reasonable to believe that they can be even more successful with a more talented running back in Miles Sanders here. And on top of that, Panthers have made it really clear that they want to utilize Miles Sanders as a true workhorse role. They gave him a 4-year, $25.4 million contract, which might not sound like a lot, but in the landscape of running backs this free agency, he was the highest paid running back in free agency. So they made a point of going to get him. They talked about wanting to use him in the passing game as well. They mentioned this figure 50 receptions, given that that's how many he got in his rookie season. I currently have him statted out for 47 receptions. So if he gets anywhere near that 50 reception total they're talking about, he's going to be an absolute steal. And really, Miles Sanders is just a good player. He was really good last season. He just only caught, I think he had like 16 receptions last season. So you're getting one catch a game out of him. And he's going to get way more workload in that category as well, as he's not going to have to worry about Jalen Hurts stealing the goal line work from him. So he's a really good player. This is going to be the biggest workload of his career. There's no reason to think that he won't be a low end running back 1 this season. So my next biggest value at the running back position is James Conner. I've got him ranked as my running back 12, despite an ADP of running back 25. I will note that this ranking for me is projecting him playing all 17 games. That's how I've got all my players stat out. So I will say that it's fair to assume James Conner is going to miss a few games this season. So if you want to bump him down in the ranks a little bit, that makes sense for me there. But he's a really good player. He's going to be the focal point of the Cardinals offense. He and Marquise Brown. And a lot of people are worried about what this offense is going to look like without Kyler Murray. I think it's reasonable to be concerned there. But over the last 2 seasons in games that Kyler Murray has missed, James Conner has produced 22.5 fantasy points per game in PPR formats. That would be on pace for the running back 1 in fantasy. Obviously, I think that's too small of a sample size to project out for anything super meaningful, but it shows that he's got the ability to produce even without Kyler Murray. Without Kyler Murray, I think they're almost even a little bit more likely to dump it off to James Conner in the backfield. So I think that his reception volume actually goes up a bit with Kyler Murray missing games, and we know what the Cardinals do when they get on the goal line, they give it to James Conner. So he's got a real shot at being a double-digit touchdown guy, and he's probably going to catch 40 to 50 passes as well. He's going to get 250 carries probably this season, so he's just going to volume his way to being really good. And if this offense is any better than we expect him to be, he could be an absolute steal. So I really think he could be a low-end running back 1, high-end running back 2 this season, and he's being drafted as like a high-end running back 3, low-end running back 2. So really great value on James Conner right now. I've been getting him everywhere, and I think you should too. Another guy I've been drafting a ton of so far this offseason is David Montgomery. I've got him statted out to my running back 16, despite an ADP of running back 28, and I don't think it's really all that unreasonable. Jamal Williams was the running back 13 in fantasy in points per game last season, and that's in a PPR format as well, and he was in the same role, and Montgomery's just a better player than Jamal Williams. The Lions clearly think so. They gave Montgomery more money than Jamal Williams got in free agency. And he's especially a much better player in the receiving game. David Montgomery's been used in the pass catching game more throughout his career than Jamal Williams was. So I think it's reasonable to assume that David Montgomery's going to get a little bit more passing volume than what Jamal Williams got last season, and he's still going to be the get the goal line work for sure. Jahmyr Gibbs was drafted super high by the Detroit Lions. They obviously have a plan to use him a bunch, but I think you're basically just seeing this is going to be Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift again, but both players got upgraded from a talent standpoint. So the workload should be about the same between these two guys. I think that David Montgomery is clearly going to be the goal line guy. He's going to get enough receiving work that he's going to be super relevant. I do have Gibbs as my running back 14, so I think that these are going to be 2 running backs that you really want in your fantasy teams. They're going to be really great, but I think that they're going to put both these guys on the field, especially early on in the season without Jameson Williams. They don't have a whole lot of players that can really hurt you on the offensive side of the ball outside of Amon-Ra and then these 2 running backs. So these guys are going to be the focal point of the offense. They're going to get used a ton, and Montgomery's a guy that I'm just super excited about at his value right now. So another guy that I think is going a little bit too under the radar right now is Aaron Jones. I've got him listed as my running back 13 despite an ADP of running back 17. So that's not a super crazy value that you're seeing yet there, but I think that people are just getting tired of drafting Aaron Jones. You see him slide in drafts quite a bit, and he was the RB9 last season, even on a Packers team that really struggled to score the ball and move the ball down the field very often. And he only had 7 touchdowns last season. He's had 10 and 11 the years before, and he had even more, I think, the year before. So he's clearly shown that he can be a spike touchdown producer. He's just a really talented player. And even though I think that it's fair to say that this Packers offense will be a little bit worse than it was last year, given they got the new quarterback in Jordan Love, I think that Aaron Jones is going to be used plenty. He's still probably going to catch 50 passes, so he'll get 200 carries again, and he's efficient enough that's going to turn into 1,000 yards on the ground and 300 through the air and probably 10 total touchdowns. So I think that it's reasonable to assume that Aaron Jones can be a low-end running back 1, running back 2. I personally would feel a little bit more comfortable with him if he's on my team if he's my running back 2, or if I maybe went wide receiver, and then you can get Aaron Jones as your running back 1 in the third round. So Aaron Jones still has some really significant upside. Maybe this Packers offense is a little bit better than we're projecting it to be, and even if it's not, I think he's going to be efficient enough and get enough volume to be really good this season. And last up, we've got RACHAAD White here. I don't have him projected to be super high ahead of ADP here. He's currently projected to be my running back 23, despite running back 26 ADP, so not a huge disparity there, but I just think he's a really good talent. I know he only averaged 3.7 yards per carry last season, but he looked really good as a pass catcher, and honestly, Leonard Fournette was worse on the ground last season, so I think it's pretty reasonable to chalk up these inefficiencies on the ground due to just how banged up that offensive line was. Their offensive line should be healthier and much better this season, so that's something to look forward to for this Buccaneers offense. Now, the passing volume is going to drop from this team. That is how RACHAAD White made his money last season, but there's no Leonard Fournette there anymore, so RACHAAD White's going to be really dealing with very little competition for targets and carries at the running back position. His main competition for touches is Chase Edmonds, Keyshawn Vaughn, and someone else whose name's slipping my mind right now. But regardless, RACHAAD White's clearly the most talented and best player in this backfield. They don't have any reason to bring in a veteran to really compete for touches. I know people have linked Zeke to them, but the Buccaneers are going to be competing to get a really high draft pick next season. They don't have any reason to bring in a veteran. They're going to want to see what they have in RACHAAD White. So he's going to get a ton of volume. He's going to probably get 60, 70% of the running back touches from this team. He'll probably catch about 50 passes, even though he's not going to see even though this team's not going to pass quite as much, I think that he's going to get more of a target share given that there's no Leonard Fournette anymore. So RACHAAD White, I think I'd be really comfortable with as my running back 2. I've been drafting him quite a bit. And I think he's got more upside if this Buccaneers offense actually isn't that bad. I think I've heard a lot of people make comps for this team to that the Seahawks were last year, where we're sort of just writing them off as being really bad because of a quarterback change. But maybe them having Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, such like the Seahawks had Lockett and Metcalf, just means that this team can be really good on offense because they've got really good weapons there. And if that's the case, then RACHAAD White's got some serious upside. So I love RACHAAD White. He's pretty cheap in drafts, and if you can get him as your RB2, I think you feel pretty comfortable with that. So that'll do it for this video. Up next, I'll be bringing you guys my 5 worst values at the running back position. Then I'll try and rattle off the quarterbacks and tight end as well. So really trying to get you guys as many videos as possible here over the next couple weeks so we can sort of get into draft strategy and really just sort of get things rolling this off season. So it's super exciting. I love making these videos for you guys. If this is your first time on this channel, please do take a minute to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Hopefully you liked it. Hopefully you got something out of it, and I'd love to help you guys make your teams better and win your leagues this season. But yeah, and if you had any players that you think are really great values that I didn't touch on, feel free to bring them up in the comments. I'd love to interact with you guys. If you got any questions about players, I'm happy to answer them in the comments as well. So yeah, thank you guys so much, and I'll catch you next time.